Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Shay with Amos. I'm your host, Jacob Gorgie, and joining me today is the ever wonderful, ever sweet, I don't know, Uncle Alphonse Mikheail. How are you?
I'm doing fine. Thank you for inviting me for this interview.
No problem. Thank you for coming. So, usually with these interviews, we always start with the same question, which is, let's start from the beginning. So, first of all, when did you immigrate from Egypt to America?
I did arrive in Chicago on August 1970. So that's so far I have 53 years living in the same place with Chicago. I didn't immigrate from Chicago to any place else.
Wow. So because I know sometimes people will do New Jersey to Chicago, or they'll go Egypt or somewhere on the East Coast, or even we've had people from the West Coast as well. So did you do, or was it just straight?
Straight to Chicago, and every 5 years I planned to leave Chicago, but that never happened. I hate the snow, but now I lived with for 53 years in Chicago.
So what brought you to the States?
I graduated from Alexandria University in engineering in 1964, and then I work for government jobs, which is everything was controlled by the government at that time. So I work on shipyard for repair and building, called Arabiya Egyptian shipyard. So I work there and for almost till 1969. When it came to my attention, they choose me to be on a scholarship from United Nations. So there was no way I could leave the country in that time, because as you remember, there were 5 days war, and actually in 1967, and actually the whole country ruined. The army is damaged, the navy is also damaged, and many soldiers being killed, and we had big hope that our country going to win, and suddenly in 5 days everything finished, and the economy became so bad. So looking in the future, you find yourself, you are very little and you cannot advance in the country.
So was this war, this is between
Israel and Egypt.
And Sinai.
Sinai and the other Arab country was involved, but in 5 days they finished all of them.
Wow.
Finish all the armies of all the Arabs.
That's very scary.
Yeah, very scary.
So then that kind of leads me on to when you first came. So you, since you were here in the 60s, this is at the time, if you guys remember the other episode.
1970 when I came.
Mother, sorry. So the 1970s.
Yeah.
So if you guys remember from the other episodes, I believe at this point, the congregation in Chicago was renting in Roselle. I believe so.
That's Roselle was, we bought church in Roselle, downtown, that time. But previous that, we were renting in Chicago Catholic Church, and there was in Kenmore in Chicago for a few years or so.
So that kind of leads me on to a little bit further ahead into the 90s. As St. Mark was constructed, at the time, the actual population grew. There was a lot of people immigrating, especially in the late 80s into the 90s. So resulting in that was another church, St. Mary's, which is in Palatine, Chicago. So, and you were there when everything was happening. So as the first guest who was there, what was that like? Because I know personally, my mom was immigrated. She had immigrated at the time, and she was kind of there. She told me snippets, but what caused the need? And then what was that experience like building the church and then
Is
that whole
actually
story?
just correct what he didn't know. It's in the St. Mary Coptic Orthodox Church was registered in 1985.
Oh.
So we have registration name, and they have also a land to build. So, at that time, they're trying to build or start the group for St. Mary Coptic Church, but they didn't have the money to build. So at that time, they asked Pope Shenouda to send them a priest. So also he had lack of priests. We cannot find anyone as he wanted to send. So he sent us a priest called Father Botros. He's a monk and from Atria. And then he helped the new generation coming, and he served the St. Mary Church for 8 years, and then became Mikheail. He comes and visits St. Mark too from time to time.
Oh, wow. Okay, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh.
So he thought like the father of St. Mary. So always there is any celebration, he comes over. So it stayed till Father Ishaq Tanius came and with his wife, and that's the starting of working hard to buy a land and build the church.
So, were you there during the construction, and like, did you have any involvement in the construction?
Yes,
or
I was one of the leader of building the church, St. Mary Church. We got it designed by Sarwat Malik from California, and was the leading of the construction job was Dr. Rifat Malik, and I was represent the church at that time. So we negotiate every item from the beginning.
So then I have a particular question. So I was in St. Mary's recently, and I used to go as a kid as well. And as a kid, it felt big because I was a kid, but I went recently, and I noticed it's very wide. But it's like it's wide, but it's very narrow.
Sure.
So I was wondering. So what was that purposely done, or was that?
Yes, it is. I will tell you a story and the miracle what happened in this church. So we learned that Bethel Church is huge. Church has, I think, maybe more than 5.5 acres. And we learned that they want to sell part of their land through our real estate broker. So we find that they want to sell 2.5 acres, and they need the money to fix the roof. So that's so we find that it's a good deal to get almost 2.5 acres Good location, close to the highway, was 150,000. So our lawyer, he noticed that there is two parts of that land. One is commercial and one residential. So we thought that we can build on both of them. He refused. He said, no, you should get approval for the neighbors, and they have to vote. They allow you to build a church in that residential. He said, any time of those residential, they can knock your church if they don't get approval from them. So he said, I don't advise to build the church with that case. So they made voting for their association. There were almost 100 families there. And we tried to ask the people to vote. So they have a day to open the envelopes and tell us we win or they win. So it came out the votes 51% no, and the rest 51% no. So when they opened it, they told me that, we don't need you to build a church here. So with my face, I stood and told them, if St. Mary want to build a church in this land, it will be done. If you like it or not. And I left. I was the only one in that meeting. So I came out and I found another doctor to come with me in the meeting. It came late. I told him I did that. It looks like I'm stupid, but I told him what I felt. So we had a meeting in my home, and we said we cannot waste our time more. If they're not going to be the church built here, we have to find another place. So we brought the real estate guy and the architect and told them what you need to build this church from commercial land. He said, give me 30 feet perpendicular on what you have in the land, and I build the church. So I said, okay, let's ask the Bethel Church if they can give us 30 feet. If they're not, we're leaving. So within a week, we got approval for getting another half acre with $30,000 only. So you have 150 and 30,000 became 180. So we built the church on only commercial area. So this is the reason we tried to squeeze it as much as you observation.
Yeah. Wow.
So that's the way that American happened. And within a week, we are trying to dig in and do the building.
So then, did the people ever say why they didn't want the church, or was it?
They did. We had a meeting with them, and they think it will cause them noise, and they don't want that kids to be running around. And we did told them that we like the place and most of the congregation in that area, and building the church will reduce the sound from the highway for you. But all that, it didn't work out.
So then, obviously then over time though, was there ever more land acquisition from there? I know now they bought Bethel, Khalas, they bought it. But kind of backtracking a bit, because now they have, I remember when I was still going there, back when Bethel Church was still open, they had they had a wider parking lot, and they had this house there as well. where they would have Sunday school. So when you bought the land, did you also buy that house, or was that purchase made later? Or?
No, we made it later. But we were the land was not enough, so we rent also parking from them on that period. So maybe another 20 parking space or more. So we're paying monthly for them, and that's what kept the St. Mary going.
So then, in the early days of the church, when it was first opened, when did St. Mary's open?
On 1996, December. 19 November 1996.
That's interesting because St. Mark was open November 1987, right, James?
80s. They were ahead of us.
But it was November though, which is interesting. An interesting correlation. When we interviewed the person for St. George, St. Paul's, remember to comment what month was it opened in. But anyways, so during that early period, how big was the congregation?
We at that time we were almost 150 families, and Father Ishaq Tanios was a good communicator. If you absent one Sunday from church, he called you. So he has fatherly talent. So he was is always around the congregation and ask about them, help them. So he was a very good communicator.
And then on the topic of Amos Hat, so he unfortunately passed away August of 2017?
Yeah, 2012.
2012. So, because I remember him as a kid. I think he actually baptized me. So I have very faint memories going in. So what was he like?
He's actually was CEO for elevator company. Yeah, and Italian company. And he was well organized and put everything in order. So that the talent he had, and the talent of always asking about the congregation if anybody sick or absent. So that's you maybe experience that when you were in St. Mary.
And then a lot of this has been what's the history, but I was just kind of curious, what was your favorite memory of the early days of St. Mary's, where it's like a memory you thought of where you always look back fondly of?
Well, it is opening the church. That's was kind of make me so happy. But after a lot of work and a lot of effort, and you see a church being built, it's most of the iconosthat is being made in Egypt, typical nice iconosthat. The pews all being ordered from Egypt. The domes made in Egypt, and the towers from Egypt.
Okay.
And but we saved a lot of money. So this it cost us almost 1.8 million.
Wow.
That's all at that time.
Yeah.
But it is good saving.
On that note, I've always been curious about this. When you order iconostases, is it do you then order the pews from the same people? Or because I've noticed every church I've been to, they're always matching. So is that typically the case, or is it?
Yeah, typically the case. We order everything from a guy. His name Magid Makramallah. He's famous in doing this kind of work. And he also supervised all the the big domes and the two towers. He was watching the company which we were making them. It's fiberglass. And miraculously, till now, are good. We have almost 25 years, and supposed to be 15 years, 18 years, and going to be remain. But so far, it is working good.
Oh, since
we put them.
Oh, wow. So if the roof ever falls, God forbid.
No, it's, it leaked, but we do keep sealing them.
So this leads me then to the outlook question. So at the end of every interview, I always ask an outlook question so that people who may be watching in the future maybe can get some advice from these interviews. So my outlook question for you is, what is your advice for people who want to start another church? So how would they do that, and what do you think they should do in order to do it successfully?
First of all, you have to have a priest and lead the group. And you cannot any group and goes and we bought land and we're going to build, and you have no leadership. Our church respect the priest and their opinion, So I hear that some people want to build a church in Naperville, and Father Samuel told them, let's finish what we have here, and we help you to build a church in Naperville. So it is important to pick the right priest to do the job for you and right timing. So you cannot do it by yourself.
Okay. And then on that note, an additional question I do want to ask on top of that. How do we ensure that in the events, actually a better question, how do we know when it's time to build another church? Is there a sign, or is it kind of when a group of people decide it's ready?
No. It, of course, many signs come to build a church. You cannot do it by yourself. If it's God not in it, don't do it. And the congregation don't follow this group. It has to be a sign and has to be approval from all the churches around. We had a problem at the beginning where also St. George, when it started to be close to St. Mark, Pope Shenouda was upset because he wanted at least 10 miles away from each other. So we are not doing a shop and competing with somebody. It has to be covering the group they needed. We are not debating other church. So it is important to know when you can ask, when you get permission to do it. And with this announcing for a Pope approval, then the people will donate more and the church will build. But if you are thinking you have the money and you don't care about the rules and the regulation of the church, definitely you will be loser at the end.
I see. Well, thank you so much, not only for the interview, it's really been amazing, so thank you, and thank you for everything you've done, so I really do appreciate it.
Thank you for doing this job, and I'm happy that you are doing this thing for the new generation. That's it's a good work, and God bless your work.
Thank God bless you too. On that note, thank you everybody so much for watching. I'm trying to fix my eyes this way. Thank you everyone so much for watching. If you would like to see some of our older episodes, feel free to head to our YouTube channel, St. Mark Chicago. There you'll see all the different playlists from season 1 till now. And if you want to see some cool behind the scenes stuff or even see updates on when new episodes come out, by all means, give us a follow at smcc.official at instagram.com. Otherwise, thank you again, Uncle Alphonse, for coming on today. It's really been a blessing. Thank you.
Thank you.
And with that said, God bless and